light in our family that shone brightly. She didn't confine her love, service, friendship, and concern only to her family. We have heard from many friends who she has helped greatly and friends who loved her deeply. She was a force for positive change in her family, her own life, and in the lives of all those who had the opportunity to be around her. These words sound like superlatives, often spoken about someone who's gone. The amazing thing is they are not superlative and can be attested to by almost everyone who I speak of Angie as if she was still with us in this life. I wish that were true. Because Jim decided to betray her trust and ours. Because Jim decided to cast aside the love and forgiveness extended to him by Angie and us. Because Jim decided to bring shame to his family name and cast aside his good upbringing. Because Jim decided satisfying his lusts, needs, financial issues, and desires was more important than having his children raised by a mother who loved them. Because of the selfishness, greed, lust, dishonesty, and narcissism of Jim Craig, this bright young light has been extinguished. She is not here to add her light and strength to our family's love and companionship. She's not here to shine her light on the lives of her children. And we worry about that and them. There is a hole in the fabric of our family. There is a hole in the fabric of our family that cannot be filled. It is impossible to calculate the love, service, and good things lost because her life was needlessly and cruelly cut short. Enjoying the knowledge that this life is not the end and that families can be eternal, that through Jesus Christ all things are possible. I still wish I had my baby sister here today so I could continue to watch her shine and be a recipient of her light. I would just add some things. I've covered a lot of things that I wanted to say. I gave a good introduction to our family. But I want to add some things about Angie that are more experiences that I had. My name is Rick Pray. I'm number 3, second boy in the family. When Angie was born, I was about 17, and she was a cute little baby. Just even you can see her personality. So I got to be in a big family. I got a lot of experience changing diapers. So I actually changed Angie's diapers, and she would probably say that her poop didn't stink, but I will attest it did. And she was just fun. I like babies anyway, but she was fun. I left to a mission also. I went to Belgium, Holland, and when I came back a couple of years later, she was 4 years old, about somewhere in there. And so she was at that age where she was talking, and she talked a lot. And she grew up and learned, and she was a little precocious, but very fun to be around. But I, like Mike, I went off for my own life. I went to actually, when I got back, I went to junior college, and so I was there for only 2 years. Then I went to BYU and got married, and all that things, the kinds of things that you do as you grow up. And so I would see her, like Mike said, at family events and things that we attended once in a while, and they would come to Utah sometimes. So things got, it was not as easy to remain close, but because we are the family that we are, we did. We knew what she was doing and what things were going on in her life. 2013, my dad died, and that was one of the things that brought our family together. And, we got to catch up on a lot of stuff, and that was kind of a sad occasion for us. But we buried him, and then we had to take care of my mom. We brought her out to Utah, so we had to sell her house, and she was there helping whenever she could be. We got her house in Payson, Utah, and then she was diagnosed with terminal cancer, brain cancer. And we, all the kids that were here or there, took turns, 24-hour shifts with my mom for 10 months. And Angie would come up, and she'd be there. And so I got to know her even better as an adult as we went through it. And the kinds of service that she provided for my mom. While she was there. She was very accurate with her medication, kept records, helped us do all that kind of stuff. And it was good to have her around. In fact, when she was there, we would tease my mom. My mom, we all have pretty good sense of humor, but my mom had a good sense of humor too. And we tease her about things, even sometimes things she couldn't do because of a brain tumor, which seems cruel. But it's not. It's funny. And she would laugh, and Angie had some good sarcastic things that she would do, and it was just fun, even when we were suffering. She went through, when my mom died, she took all the photographs that we found in the basement and we cleaned out, and she digitized all those things, and it was a big process because there were a lot of photographs that my mom had inherited from her mom, and some even past that. And she took them, all the ones she couldn't get done while she was there back to her house, and she continued working on them, and we would get updates. And it was great. And we still have those things out on the web that we can look at because Angie took that time. My wife became good friends with her through the years. We went up to see Mira's wedding. We went up to help her out, to help Angie get everything ready. And I got to hang all the lights and chimneys, and it took me almost all day to do it. But I was glad to do it. It was really fun to be with her and see how she works and how she loved her children. And the things that she had done in that wedding were amazing. She had stuff for kids up on the stage and all kinds of displays that she put together. She was really dedicated to Mira. And just things like that through our whole lives. She was always there for somebody who needed her. And there's a lot of other things I could say, but I've taken enough time for that. The last thing I remember actually from that, I think that wedding was one of the last times I ever spent a good amount of time with Angie. The next thing that she did that I remember was Wendy and her, Tony, and I think Kathy went to Roots Tech, which is the genealogy thing, and that's the last time we saw her alive. So we got to Aurora. When she was dying on the way, we found out that it was possible that Jim had poisoned her while we were in the car on the way. And it was very shocking to even think that would happen to you. When we got there, one of the things we were there with Jim's parents, and I got to talk to them a bit, and it was really difficult to be there and knowing what he had done and talking, or at least as far as I knew, we had enough evidence to know it was pretty certain that's what had happened. And talking to his parents was, because I couldn't tell them, and I knew this was going to hit them harder. So the night before, just a few experiences. The night before he got arrested, he came home, and that was really difficult. I met him coming down the stairs. I was in the living room. He came down the stairs and hugged me, and I wasn't in a hugging mood, but first time in my life that I felt like I just really wanted to piss him up. And, but I didn't. It's not me. And later that evening, he held a family night for his children and taught about the atonement. And my sister Becky, who's really close to Angie, I remember her kind of pounding her head. I think the dishwasher or something, not real hard. She was having a really hard time. But to sit there and listen to him teach the atonement to his children, knowing what he had done. And I would just like to say to Jim, just a little bit, that, to think about what you've done. Think about your parents, and I would just ask one thing, that you tell your parents, that you come clean, and you tell them the whole story, and apologize to them, so that they don't have to suffer and wonder about anything. I love Angie. I wish she was here, but she's not, and we'll see her again. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the brother of the victim really praising his sister, talking about how devoted she was to the community, the family, and everything else. All right, we're going to take a break, but before we do, I want to let you know that we remain on verdict watch in the attempted murder trial of two parents in Washington State. This is the second day of deliberations, and they've now been deliberating for over 12 hours, almost 12 and a half hours now. Ihsan and Zara Ali are both charged with attempted murder. Prosecutors say they tried to choke their teenage daughter, Fatima, to death at the bus stop of her former school. Fatima had run away earlier that day back in October of 2024 to avoid a planned trip to Iraq, where she says she didn't feel safe. Now, earlier today, the jury returned and asked the court for the definition of legal authority as it relates to count 3, which is the charge of unlawful imprisonment. Well, the judge basically told them, look, you got to go back and reread the jury instructions, that she could not give them the definition. It was in the instructions. And remember, Ihsan and Zara Ali face up to life in prison if convicted of second-degree murder. All right, we're going to take a break here. Coming up next on Court TV, we're going to hear from the victim's daughter next as victim impact statements continue in the Poison Shake murder trial sentencing of James Craig. That's after the break, so keep it here on Court TV.
Tonight, on closing arguments, our verdict watch continues as two parents stand accused of trying to kill their teenage daughter. We're live with the very latest from today's deliberations.
Closing arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The matriarch mastermind murder trial. Live coverage this August on Court TV.
All right, before we get back to those victim impact statements, I want to bring in our guest for this hour. Joining us, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, David Bruno. David, great to see you as always, my friend. And this is one of those cases where the sentence is known, right? It's mandatory life in prison without parole. But there's victim impact statements still extremely important because, again, we often debate whether they have any effect at all. It won't have an effect in this case, but certainly it has an effect on the victims, their ability to express themselves in court.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the primary thing here. Look, it's because of the first degree with deliberation in Colorado, it is a mandatory life without parole, right? So there's no leniency. And oftentimes we're on this network and we're watching sentencing where there is discretion from the court. And that's where victim impact statements and aggravating and mitigating factors are so important, because that's really what's required in the balancing when sentencing somebody to a crime. In this case and some other states, it does not have any discretion. So basically, we all know what he's going to get. He's going to get life without parole, but it is therapeutic for the victims and the family members. And we're seeing this. We're seeing the family step up and talk about the victim. And I'd imagine that it is therapeutic for them to get it out and really feel, and those emotions get to run through. And that's what we're really watching here. It's so sad to hear from the family because, this could have went a completely different way. Could have went a divorce, separate. And instead, we saw what happened, the deliberation, the research, the purchasing, and the cover-up.
Yeah, and the cover-up, to me, is a big deal when we talk about the fact that there's really no room for leniency here. If there was some sort of balancing act, when you start thinking about who this guy is and what he did in this case, just a serial cheater, had 6 kids at home, a wife devoted to him and the family, taking care of the family. Seems like she's a very nice person. She suffered. He not only premeditated it, but what he premeditated was for her to suffer. And we know she suffered. She went back and forth to court, and finally, then he tried to cover it up by creating more lies. So if there was balancing act in this case, he probably would have had no chance anyway.
Yeah, well said. It was also critical in the evidence itself on consciousness of guilt, right? Because he was saying suicide. He was trying to present an alternative theory to the death. And then when you just stack on top the after conduct and the evidence that was shown of cover-up and all these other actions that were trying to show that this was something other than a murder, it actually goes to the consciousness of guilt and was critical in the case itself for prosecutors to get this conviction.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, David, stand by. I want to take folks right back into court for more victim impact statements. The court is now hearing from the defendant and the victim's 21-year-old daughter, Miriam Craig.
I was the second child of my mom and dad, her oldest daughter, and although I may not have been hers, she was my best friend. A lot of people keep telling me that my mom is here with me, but I hope more than anything that she's not. I hope she's somewhere so much better, yelling at people for not labeling their family history pictures. On the videos and pictures and stuff that we've seen throughout the duration of this trial, you've seen some of the ugliest dogs in the world. 2 little fuzzballs that followed my mom everywhere. They loved her so much. One of them, he should be dead by now. We don't know how he's made it this long. I was supposed to be able to hug my mom when he died. And instead I was left to take him home and figure out what to do with him since my mom was gone. I was supposed to be able to plan my sister's weddings with my mom, even though there was nothing in the world I wanted to do less than plan weddings. I was supposed to be able to share with her the stories and the things happening in my life and the projects that I started and never finished. And I was supposed to be able to trust my dad. He was supposed to be my hero, and instead he'll forever be the villain in my book. And it hurts so bad every day. And I miss her so much. And I know there are so many more people that would love to be able to stand up and say a lot about my mom and how wonderful she was, and some people who would even love to stand up and remind us some of the stupid things she did and said, and some of her crazy moments. But I think I speak for everyone when I say that life and the world will truly never be the same. It will never be as bright as it was when my mom was here with us. And I regret every single day that I don't get to spend my days growing up and introducing her to my babies and their babies and worrying about like what retirement home she should be in, or should I should hire an in-home nurse or something. I don't know, Judge. I miss her. I want my mom. I want more than anything to go home at the end of the day and just give her a hug and call her and tell her about all the crazy stuff that's happened. I had to get her advice, whether asked for or not, on my life. And I don't know, it's a terrible situation. And we, like my brother said, we trust your decision, and we trust that justice has and will be served. And thank you to you and to the jury and to everybody who's here supporting my mom. Thank you guys for everything. And I'm sorry this is happening.
Thank you.
What a tragedy. That young lady won't have her mother around for all these major milestones coming up in her life. All right, before we go to break, folks, an update in Texas. Billy Delgado learns his fate in the shot 5 times assault trial after a jury found him guilty of all charges.
We assess his punishment at confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for a term of 50 years.
A jury sentenced him to 50 years in prison. This comes after Delgado rejected a plea deal before trial of 40 years in prison. Billy Delgado stood with his head down and didn't appear to show any emotion after the jury found him guilty of first-degree aggravated assault for shooting his ex-wife 5 times in June of last year. The victim, Erica Torres, and her mother gave victim impact statements after the sentencing. Now, he was immediately remanded into custody following those statements. All right, we'll step aside now for that short break. When we come back, we're going to hear more victim impact statements and then the judge's ruling in the sentencing of James Craig for the murder of his wife. Stay tuned to Court TV Live. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. Let's get you back into that Colorado courtroom where sisters of Angela Craig, the victim in the Poison Shake murder trial, are at the podium giving their impact statements. Let's listen in.
Out of the 9 older siblings, there's not one of us that would have hesitated to put ourselves between her and danger. None of us could have imagined that the person she chose as her companion, the father of her 6 children and the man we welcomed into our family as our trusted brother-in-law, would callously and cruelly and without mercy take her life. And he perpetrated this murder while she was in her own home with her own children around her. Heartless, cowardly. He's a pretender and a liar. He's a snake in the grass. Conversely, Angela was generous. If you needed help, Angela was there. It didn't matter if you were 15 years older than her or 2. She wanted to improve herself and was always learning new things and choosing to try new experiences. She was funny and happy, and you've heard all of this over and over because we can't think of any other words. These are the words to describe her. She loved life, she loved her children without bounds. Family, whether it be her siblings and her parents, her children, they were and are the center of her universe. She was a force for good and wanted to accomplish so many things. She was so busy. She was a loyal friend. She never gave up on her marriage. She never stopped to rebuild. She never stopped trying to rebuild trust when it was destroyed. Never stopped trying to love the man that she had committed herself to, and he killed her for it. She could not know that this man was and is only capable of loving himself. It has been excruciating to hear the details of her life with this person whose judgment and treatment of her and his relentless infidelity were a constant source of anguish and heartache. To see the videos of him poisoning her over a period of 10 days, causing intense pain, confusion, and helplessness that ended in her horrific death has been unbearable. He seemed almost giddy as he recorded her symptoms to us in our family chat. He knew what kind of pain and trauma he was inflicting. He was torturing her. It has been shocking. We were fooled. We were unable to help her. We were unable to save her. We were unable to rescue her from the person that was supposed to honor her, protect her, and love her. He killed her. And then, in an attempt to save himself from the consequences of his despicable crime, he and his defense team disparaged her by attacking her mental health, her trust, her strength, her faith, her commitment to family, and her ability to keep a confidence. In an act of ultimate betrayal and ridiculous irony, they accused her of taking her own life. Simply shameful. His name is intentionally omitted from my statement. I don't plan to ever speak it again. I will walk away from this courthouse and I will never look back. I will leave the final judgment to God. This convict is no longer my concern. He will join thousands of other prison inmates that are living the life they have earned because of their selfish and evil choices. Those are his people now. Ironically, this person who lived for the excitement of expensive cars, rich food, and a constant stream of women won't ever drive again. He'll never again be alone with a woman, and he won't even be able to pick the clothes he wears or the food he eats, and I'm okay with that. Angela's gone. Losing a sibling is like losing a limb. How is it possible? Angela is loved fiercely. We believe in life after this one, and that we can be together again. I believe that when she left this world, she was greeted by our parents, our grandparents, our brother-in-law, our nephew, and so many others that cherish and love her. I know she's happy. She's watching over her children and her siblings and all those she loves. I will see her. I will hug her. And I will belly laugh with her again. In fact, I'm sure that Angela, when we leave this life, will be the one to embrace us, to make us laugh, and to take charge of the situation, because that's what Angela does. Thank you, Judge.